Hello, and welcome to another Into the Terminal Dark Mode. I'm Scott McBrien, and tonight we'll be talking about Red Hat Insights and Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So let's jump right on in, shall we? So we're going to try something a little bit interesting. This right here is a brand new RHEL 9 system. So we're going to register this, which I've never done before, with Insights. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to install the Insights client. You may not need to install Insights Client on your own systems. It may already be there. It is included with a variety of the default package selections in Red Hat Enterprise Linux. All right, so we've got Insights. Let's go ahead and do a registration. Insights-client-register. And what this is going to do is register the machine with the Red Hat Insights service, but it's also going to collect some data about this machine and upload it to that service. The data will then be analyzed at Red Hat, and a variety of things will be triggered. And then after the data is analyzed, at some point later, we delete that data from our storage house at Red Hat. So, or data store at Red Hat. All right, so it's all done. So also, let me break something on this machine. So this is a real life thing I have seen happen where somebody is trying to exit their editor and they forget that they're in input mode. And so they go to command mode and then exit the editor, but they leave that like extra bit of stuff behind. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run Insights Client again. Typically, Insights Client will run automatically every day, but you can run it manually and it will cause a data refresh to happen. So I'm hitting it again so that I can get a data refresh, and then we're going to go check out the Insights tab or Insights user interface and check out this system. So bear with me as I switch tabs here. Okay, so this is the Insights interface. You get to it by logging on to console.redhat.com. And we can see that there's the Red Hat Enterprise Linux sidebar over here. So if I toggle it open, I can get to Red Hat Insights. And there's several different services, and we'll take a quick tour of a couple of these when we go into the deeper dive. But what I want to do is I want to go to my inventory to find this system that I'm working on. All right, so RHEL 12345 is the system that I've been working on. I could have verified that by looking at the host name, but look at that, RHEL 90 right there in the operating system field. Pretty awesome. And we'll come and talk a little bit more about what's on here, but I'm going to go to the advisor advice. And what we see is that there are a couple of moderate things that we think the system administrator should correct on this machine. And then there's this important, and we'll dig into this in a little bit, but that's what's being caused by that typo in my SE Linux configuration file. All right, so let's transition to the next side of the show, and we'll take a deeper dive at some of this stuff. All right, so now let's take a deeper dive into what is going on here with Insights and what it's recommending to me. Don't forget that now is the time where you can put in questions in chat, and I'll be happy to answer them. We're going to take a look at not only resolving these issues, but also we'll take a look at the vulnerability service, which I think is one of the most interesting services offered by Insights. And just for clarity, Insights is provided as part of every Red Hat Enterprise Linux subscription, including Those no cost developer subscriptions. So if you're using developer for individuals and you get that up to 16 systems that you can register without paying anything for those subscriptions, Insights is included in that. So you could register those 16 systems with Insights and manage them using the Insights tool as well. All right, so let me switch over here to this other tab and let's take a look at this list of advisor advice. So advisor is one of the tools. And if you look over in the left-hand side, you'll see several of the tools available. Advisor will look at your system configuration and that data that we uploaded with Insights Client, and it will look for things that we know cause problems. And that list of advice is actually seeded from a whole catalog of Red Hat support history. So we look at things that come into Red Hat support that people struggle with, and that's how we create that advisor advice. We also get some examples from our engineering teams for things that we know can cause problems. For example, if you're running Microsoft SQL Server on your Linux system, but you're not running the Microsoft SQL Server Tunedy profile to optimize the performance settings for that workload, that's one of the advices that will be offered by Advisor. So, so yeah, it's a mix of stuff, engineering and history of fixing other people's problems with support. Patch is for applying updates. Vulnerability is also for applying updates, but it only limits that to security updates. And that's what we're going to take a deeper dive into as well. Compliance goes with OpenSCAP. So if you're doing security standards compliance like PCI DSS, HIPAA, Australian Essential 8, ANSI, DISA-STIG, you can have your entire population take that scan data and upload it to Insights, and it will look over your entire population and provide reporting and a whole bunch of other stuff on how your systems are measuring up with those standards that you define. And then Drift over here will do comparing systems to each other and tell you how they're different. So if you have a couple systems that you think should be identical, but they're not identical, it will tell you like what packages are different and some other things. And then there's a couple other things down under here too, like subscriptions. We've seen that in earlier episodes where we were managing subscriptions and we got to look at what we were using. Resource optimization is a new one. It is kind of nice for cloud things because it will actually look at your system's utilization and then recommend whether you're in the right sized instance with your cloud provider or not. So that's what that one's about. All right, so let's go ahead and resolve this important SE Linux. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and just toggle it open so we can look at a little bit more detail. So the detected issue, SE Linux is enforcing, but the SE Linux type, the policy setting is invalid. It's set to targeted WQ, and really it has to be set to one of the three supported types. And it says down here in the steps to resolve, it can be set to targeted, MLS, or minimum. Right, so they recommend that you set it to targeted. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch back over to my system. I'm going to fix it. And then we're going to upload a new set of data to Insights. All right, so let me go into that configuration file again. And we're going to fix this error. Now, the reason that this was flagged as important is because if I were to reboot the system with this typo in this file, the system wouldn't boot. It would get to a point and then just kind of like bail out because we weren't able to load the correct SE Linux policy, and that would keep the system from fully booting. So the advisor service tagged it as important because it would affect the long-term operation of the system. All right, so I fixed it. Let's do another Insights client. That's going to force a new data gather and upload. Otherwise, I could just wait until tomorrow, and then it would automatically have done that behind the scenes and uploaded. And while it's doing that, I'll go ahead and switch tabs. All right, so let me double check. Oh, it's still gathering the data. All right, so it's finished uploading the data. Let me go ahead and refresh this page. And what we should see is that important advisor advice has been resolved. And it has, right? We just see a couple of moderates. And so I can look at this one. This is probably running with the wrong TuneD profile. Oh, it's not got TuneD on it at all. So it says, please install TuneD because that'll help set up your system performance parameters and your kernel tunables to work for your configured workload. So this is a guest VM, but it's not running with the guest VM TuneD profile, and that's why that advice is being triggered. And then a couple others. This machine has permit root login enabled, so that's a recommendation that we turn that off. And the last one is RPM packages signed with SHA-1. And if we take a closer look at that one, so there are a couple of packages that I got from my Google Cloud provider image information. So the Google Compute Engine and Google Cloud SDK, those two RPMs were signed with a SHA-1 signature, which is not the greatest cipher. So notice in the steps to resolve, it says, contact the vendor and ask them to use a different cipher. So that's one that I'd have to probably file an RFE with Google to get them to replace. So that's a little bit on Insights Advisor. Let me look at the questions. Hey, doctor, can advice given be deployed across a number of machines at once? Yeah. So let me take a look at the advisor service. We'll just look at all the recommendations. And so what it's doing is, before we were looking at our inventory, and I picked one system out of the inventory to inspect. But what we're looking at here is across my entire population of registered systems, these are the advisor advices that are being offered. And it tells you in this field right here under systems, these are the number of systems impacted by this. So like right here, I can see that um, a bunch of my guests are not running with the TuneD profile for KVM guests or for virtual guests. And over here on the side, you'll notice there's a little Ansible playbook thing. So let me open this one up. And under actions, no, that's not what I wanted. I can check the box, which selects all 8 systems, and then I can remediate it. And what that will do is it'll create a playbook for me that will install TuneD, set the right profile, and it'll do that across the list of hosts that were in here. So I'd have to download that playbook and execute it on my machine so that it can go out and touch all the affected hosts and remediate them. So you can apply remediations in bulk. You don't have to do it by hand. You can also use Ansible. There is an add-on subscription which you have to pay for called Smart Management. And if you're using Insights with Smart Management, all of a sudden this remediate, you can actually say fix it. And the next time the system checks in, it'll get a playbook and execute it that fixes that thing. So we actually call that Find It, Fix It. And it's a service that you get if you add on smart management entitlements or smart management subscriptions to your systems. The other thing smart management gets you is Red Hat Satellite. So if you're using Satellite, you already have it, and you could use the Find It, Fix It functionality and Insights. Great question. All right. So that's a little bit on Advisor, but the other thing I want to take a look at is vulnerability. So I'm going to click on, actually, let me go back to the overview page. So this is the dashboard when you first hit Insights. And one of the elements on the dashboard by default is this vulnerability snapshot. So what it's looking at is on the registered systems, all of the remediated, or I should say remediation available CVEs. So I can see that across my entire population, I have 29 CVEs that are outstanding on some of my systems, that are a CVSS score of 8 to 10. So those are classified as important um, or critical, depending on what the actual score is. Then I have a bunch that are in the 4 to 7.9 range. Those are moderates, most likely. And then I have 5 CVEs that are in the low range. And so you get this like quick snapshot of what's out there. And we could take a look at this a little bit more detailed. So if we go into the vulnerability service and we click on the CVEs tool, right, we could see some of our CVEs out here. And I would like to point out that the CVSS base score, so this is the score that comes from, I think it's MITRE. I can't remember the actual entity that does the base scoring, but our product security team will look at that score and then look at the actual behavior of Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and they may adjust that score based on things like SE Linux mitigates this problem. So it may be an important if you were not running SE Linux, but if you're running SE Linux, it would be a low, right? Because it's mostly remediated automatically or mitigated by having SE Linux running. So the severity that's in this column, that is the severity that Red Hat has assigned to it, which may be a little bit out of sync with the CVSS base score, which is without Red Hat's adjustments made to it. All right, so we can see that this important here has 6 systems exposed. And if I click on them, let's see if any of them are my system. No, they're all RHEL 8.5 boxes, so that didn't include my system. So let me go back to inventory and I'll pick mine and see if there are any CVEs outstanding for this one box. All right, so just like we looked at the advisor tab, there's also a vulnerability tab for this one box. And there are some CVEs out there for it. So CVEs are common vulnerability and exploits. Typically, we resolve it by applying a system update. So if I click on this CVE number, it will then tell me a little bit more about this CVE. Right, we get things like its severity and its CVSS score and how people exploit it. And then if I click this view in CVE database, that actually take me over to the Red Hat product security section. And then here's the box. And notice that it also has an Ansible playbook, right? So we could download the playbook if there are multiple hosts and remediate it in bulk with our Ansible playbook. Or if you have smart management, this would change to a fixit. All right, so let me look at this one and see if it tells me what package. It does not. So I'm going to click a couple of links and get us to the Red Hat security advisory, and that'll tell me what packages I need to update. That one doesn't seem to be the right one. And I've lost it. Let me go back and look at that system again. If I just did a DNF update and got all of the latest packages, that would be fine. But what I really wanted to do, it's in here, no, is I just wanted to see the package I needed and just apply that one and see that that mitigates the problem. I see a couple of questions from Eighth Doctor. Um, will Insights be able to adjust scoring based on your configuration? No, Insights reports the scoring based off of the Red Hat product security team and the original score that was assigned to the CVE. So we can't, we don't offer you the ability to further customize that. Um, but in a second, I'll show you a report which might be interesting. Oh, and I see Eighth Doctor says it's that one is a hardware problem. So boo hiss. Let me see if there's another one that I can fix here. Yeah, I wonder if this one is, I think this one is the same boat. Well, boo. Okay. So as luck would have it, I actually have a RHEL 85 box. Let me register that one, and I know we can fix that one. All right, while we're waiting for that box to spin up, we'll come back to vulnerability and remediating those CVs in a second. One of the things I also wanted to spend a little bit of time on was reporting. So this is something that was added last fall to Insights, if I remember correctly, and that's the reports section. So if you click on reports, you can choose one of two types of reports: executive report and report of by CVE. So let's start with the executive report. And bear with me as I change my screen share. All right. So executive report is just an overview of kind of the population health that you have registered with Insights. So we can see that this is our total population, right? There are 8 systems that were analyzed, the total number of CVEs that were identified for those, and security rules is like what we saw with those Spectre meltdown ones that we were looking at. All right, what's more important is the graphs. So we get to see kind of across our population what the breakdown is for the different severities of issue. So we could see that we have 29 or 17% of our total CVE vulnerability is on importance and criticals, and then 140 or 80% are like moderates and lows, and 5 are absolutely lows. And then it goes through and actually shows you the top 3 vulnerabilities on your infrastructure. So it's going to classify them by CVSS score and the number of systems. And then it gives you a quick description. And then it gives you a little bit more information down here for how this kind of looks at your population, right? But the big thing with the executive report is it is fairly light on data. It is literally meant to be given to someone to just give a snapshot, an overview of your system population and what things look like. But maybe you're not interested in the snapshot. Maybe you're interested in keeping track of the vulnerabilities as you're going through maintenance, or maybe you're interested in handing someone a report that they can look at to see what's going on with your system population, like someone on your risk management team. So that's what the other report, this report by CVEs, is about. So let me create it. You can customize a whole bunch of things with it. So you could say, oh, I only want to show them the critical and importance, or I only want to show them if there's a known exploit for that CVE. But I'm just going to take all the defaults, which is all at any, right? So it's going to give me the whole pile of CVEs that I am that my population is potentially susceptible to. All right, so it'll take a second, then it's going to download, and then I'll have to switch tabs again. I know Eighth Doctor is going to keep me honest on making sure that I actually share the tabs this time. All right. So this report is 11 pages long. And let me make the text a little bit bigger for you to read. And what you're looking at is organized by CVSS score, a ordered list of what the CVAs are that your population has outstanding, um, the CVSS score, the severity, and how many systems are assigned to it or susceptible to it. And so we just go through this whole list here, right? So in theory, you could take this list and give it to somebody, and they could see like what all is out there. So in a lot of places, maybe you're only interested in critical and importance. So you could show a report that basically here's the critical importance that I have outstanding, or maybe it's none, and the rest are moderates and lows. And that allows people to kind of look at what's out there in the population versus what has available remediations for it that can be applied. All right. So that one's a lot bigger. Eric this morning on light mode mentioned that it would be really handy back when he was doing system administration to have one of these reports, and then he'd run it before he did his maintenance window where he updated everything, and then one after, and actually be able to correlate the two together and go, there, I've fixed them. See all the updates. So I thought that was a not bad idea. All right. So my RHEL 8.5 box is now up. I'm just installing Insights Client and registering it, and then we'll be able to take a look at it. Eighth Doctor asks, are these reports available in a machine parsable form? Um, so the reports themselves are not downloaded in a machine par, parsable. Man, that was rough. Parsable form. However, there's also an API. So you may be able to leverage the API to get you the pieces of data that you're interested in a machine usable way. But I'm the wrong person to ask about the API because I don't code to it. All right, so we've got Insights Client installed, and I'm registering it right now. So let me share my screen with Insights, and we'll find this box. Okay, so we're back over in Insights. Let me go to my inventory, and I'll find this box that I'm working on. Oh, he's not finished uploading his data yet. One of the nice things about working from the office is free coffee. I think I'm almost there. All right. Somebody else doesn't get free coffee at their office. That's criminal. I will say that Red Hat treats us quite well with free coffee and drinks and snacks. So kudos to Red Hat for that. All right, so here's my new box. That's 8.5, this RHEL 60 BBE, and we'll look at the vulnerabilities for that one. And I know that one of the importance for this one is this guy right here. And I happen to know that this one is because of a gzip vulnerability. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Hold on, let me go back. I want to check to see if that was in the details here. No. All right. So we'll have to click through to a couple different places to find the actual package that I need to update to remediate this one. All right. And you can see down here, these are all the boxes that are susceptible to the CVE. All right. And then let me switch tabs one more time. I know you're loving the tab jacking tonight. So I clicked through to find the Red Hat Security Advisory that's associated with the CVE. If you scroll down, it tells you the security fix, and then somewhere in here is, oh, the updated packages. So I need to install the gzip RPM for RHEL 8, and that will remediate this vulnerability. All right, so let me just go over and do that. And I think after this, we're probably going to wrap up. So if you have questions, now's the time. All right, so if I do a DNF update on gzip, okay, and then I'm going to do another Insights client to just force the data upload. Normally, this would again happen naturally. And while that's running, I'm going to switch over to the other tab so we can check out that box again. All right, so I'm going to go to my inventory, and we're going to pick out that RHEL 8.5 box that I registered right here at the top. And then I'm going to go over to the vulnerability tab. Oh, and we're waiting. Oh, he hasn't finished uploading his data yet. So we've got the right page listed, so we'll just wait for it to finish its data upload, then we'll refresh it, and that should pick up the change. All right, so 8th Doctor, um, somebody broke my fiber line at the house at the utility pole last night, and my internet service provider can't fix it until tomorrow. So I spent all day at the office today, and maybe the morning tomorrow while I'm waiting for it to get repaired. All right, so the data upload's completed. Let's refresh this page. And what we should notice is that the important vulnerability that was towards the top, right, not there anymore, right? I installed the updated package that remediated the CVE. And then we can see that there are some others down here that are also important, but we would have to look to see what packages are affected, or I could just do a yum update or a DNF update for everything, and that would probably take care of all of this. But be really not very conscious of whether I'm updating a low or a moderate. It would just update everything. All right, so we're at the end of our time together. Thank you for joining today. Don't forget to knock that like button if you enjoyed our quick tour through Insights. By the way, the vulnerability reporting, man, that would have been so nice to have when I was dealing with uh, other people in other departments. So I think it's one of the killer features of Insights. But Insights included with all your RHEL subscriptions. And join us next week when we talk something else into the terminal. And in a few weeks, towards the end of June, I think Eric and I might be live from a Red Hat office together for an into the terminal. So in just a few weeks, maybe we'll be physically adjacent to each other as opposed to virtual, which should be interesting. All right, y'all. Take care and have a great evening.